Hey guys, welcome to another video. My name is BT. Welcome to BT InfoSec. Today I'm just going to be taking you through the day 6. So this is another video from the Advent of Cyber. If you're just joining me for the first time, the Advent of Cyber is a challenge or challenges, should I say challenges, that TryHackMe releases each challenge every day till the day of Christmas. So you can try to read more about this on the TryHackMe website. For today, we're going to be going through the web exploitation. Patch management is hard. So for this was really fun to me because I learned a whole lot of things working on this machine. So let's read the story for today. The story says, during a routine security audit before the incident, Max Kitty discovered some recovery password on an old server. She created a ticket to decommission this server to reduce the security vulnerability. The elf assigned to fix this vulnerability kept pushing off the task. Yeah, that's what happens in the reward too. It's always very difficult to patch things. And this never got done. Luckily, some of those recovery keys can be used to save some systems. So it says, unfortunately, the only way to access the server is through an old web application. See if you can pull out those recovery keys to help Max Kitty with her pursuit to save Christmas. So first thing I'm going to do right here is just to start up my machine. So while I'm talking, the machine can be rolling. So check out Oxkey's walkthrough video. So this is a walkthrough video for this if you want to go through the video, but I'm also working on this walkthrough for you guys, and I'm going to also share some of the things I learned. In this task, we'll be covering the basics of local file inclusion. So what is local file inclusion? So local file inclusion, these are vulnerabilities that are often found in like poorly web applications. Like these vulnerabilities occurs when a web application allows the user to submit input into files or upload files to the server. So basically, a threat actor is able to impute some commands on a particular web server and is able to read some things from the back end, some informations that the attacker is not supposed to see. So basically, let me just go through this. So it says, what is local file inclusion vulnerability? An LFI vulnerability is found in various web applications. As an example, in the PHP, the following functions cause this kind of vulnerability. So just adding these particular commands to your PHP files, it can lead to the local file inclusion vulnerability. So I'll really recommend you going through what the risk of LFI is, identifying and testing for LFI. These are very good content that TryHackMe have put out there. They have been able to break this down from the basics. Local file inclusion is something I learned and something I did while I was working on some CTFs in the past. And in terms of my knowledge in LFI, you know, I've learned how to use how to exploit the vulnerability, but going through this training it made me understand some new techniques and tactics that I didn't even know before. So this was really fun to me, and I'm sure it's going to be really fun to you. So I'll recommend you going through all this. I'm going to just go through some of the things that are related to this challenge on this training here right now. So it says exploiting LFI. So when you exploit an LFI, you can use some of this. These are some paths, some file paths that you can try to read using this LFI vulnerability when it's being exploited. So exploiting exploiting an LFI sometimes is limited and depends on the web application server configuration. Besides reading sensitive data, often we can obtain a remote code execution. And for those of you who are kind of new to cybersecurity, a remote code execution is when an attacker tries to launch a particular command, or he tries to install a particular file that is able to get a remote access to a system. So an attacker, maybe for example, a remote attacker from somewhere around the world, is able to get a remote access to a computer that is on another part of the world, basically. So that is what a remote code execution, that's like the basic understanding of what remote code execution is. So now going down to what we were where I was before. So if we are dealing with a PHP web application, then we can use a PHP supported wrapper. For more information, visit PHP manual page. So we can just let's check the PHP manual page. Try to go through this page. You'll be able to understand more about PHP basically. So let's go back. So I'm going to be going through some of these techniques that were done in here, but let me just go down to the main questions of today. So the first question says, deploy the attached VM and look around. What is the entry point of our web application? So in that kind of situation, now that we've deployed the VM, we can try to access the VM. I think somewhere around here, they gave us a URL. Let me look for that URL right now. Okay, let me just try using the IP address itself first. So this is my Kali VM. I'm using my Kali for this. Let's try to see, and I'm connected to the VPN. So right now you can see this is the page. So it says Maxis control system. Note, from Maxis control system, the access to the web app is limited. Okay, so let's go back to this page. So over here, it says deploy the attack VM and look around. What is the entry point for our web application? So if we look around, let's go back to our web application. So this is what we see. So it says error.txt. So this is what exactly it's giving us an error. So if you go through some of the explanation on this page, basically it tells you more about how you can exploit a local file inclusion vulnerability. So let's try some techniques on the web page. Since we already know this web page is vulnerable. So it says, let's try to see if we can read any sensitive information from this website. So let me take out this error.txt. And by the way, sometimes for you to be able to find out a particular website that is vulnerable to this, once you see something like this, like the error, like you see like the question mark ERR is equals to error.txt, or maybe you see ID is equals to this, once you see this is equals to, sometimes, some of this web application may be vulnerable to that. So let's try something like this and see. So just put in the etc password, just see what, like, this is what the web server responded to us. So if we go to okay, I went back mistakenly. If we right click and we go to view page source, now if you scroll down, you can see, so this is basically the etc / password from the Linux server basically. So for those of you that know a little bit about the Linux operating system, the Linux operating system stores its usernames and password in a folder called etc/passwd. And right now, from the web server, we're able to call this command to see all the users. So we can see users like, we can see the root user, we can see MySQL basically. So this is like we getting access to the backend. Okay, so first of all, the question for number one asked us this. It said, the number one question says, deploy the attack machine. What is the entry point for our web application? So based on what I was telling you, the entry point is just this ERR. So sometimes you might see ID, you could see any parameters that it's going to be put there, but basically this, once you see something equals to, then that particular web server may be vulnerable. Not all the time, but may be vulnerable. But the question now, what's the entry point? That's our entry point right there. So let's just go back to add that so as our entry point. Oop, and says the answer is correct. Okay, so let's go to the next one. It says use the entry point to perform to read the etc/flag file. Okay, so if you go back to the walkthrough from TryHackMe, I recommend, like I said initially, try to go through this. This was really informative. There's a lot of things here to digest. So it says you can review the topic for local file inclusion room. You know, they have a particular room for this. The TryHackMe has for this. So if you take a look at this, you know, you can try, like, I don't know, for some of you that are not familiar with Kali Linux, let me show you something. So let's go to our command line, for example. Let me make this bigger. So from the command line, for example, let's assume we want to go to so now what directory are we right now? We're in the downloads. So if we want to go back to a directory backwards, we type dot and a slash. No, first of all, type cd dot and a slash. It takes off one directory backwards. See? So now let's say, for example, I change down to downloads. And let me see what I have in download. So let's say, for example, I want to go into one of this file. Let me just go into one of these exploit here, 4669. Okay, no, that's not a folder. Okay, let me just make it directly here. Make directory tests. So list. So let me change my directory into tests. So our present working directory right now, pwd, is here. So if you want to go back to the Kali directory, we just type cd slash. So I can type slash. And if you press your enter, sorry about that, it brings us back to the Kali directory. So that's basically what a Linux operating system command line does. So now if we come back here, you can see that we are trying to see, you can see some things familiar based on what I showed you right now in terms of using the slash. And for this particular one, it's telling us to get to a folder called flag etc/flag. So let's come back to our vulnerable web application. So let's try what we just learned. So let's say we put in slash . It gave us an error. So let's try multiple times. We're already at the etc, but let's just try this multiple times and see what it's going to give us. Slash. So I see what I just did here. So let me just demo this for you again. So let me go back to the downloads and test directory I went to before. So if you want to go back to the root directory, for example, let me clear this page. If you want to go back to the root directory, for example, from this test, you can click cd to slash. So you could keep putting this till infinity, but at the end of the day, it's going to take you all the way back to the root directory. Pwd. We are in the root directory. We put ls. Now we see all our root files. So you can put that till infinity. You just know you're gonna fall here. So you don't know where if you're trying to exploit this vulnerability, you don't know exactly where you are, but you want to just make sure you get back to the root directory. So you could just send that and it takes you all the way back there. Okay, not to waste too much of your time. Now we're trying to look for the etc/flag. So let's go back and type flag and let's see. And right there, this is our flag right there. So let's go back here and submit our flag. Paste, submit. It says your answer is correct. So let's go to the next one. Use the PHP filter technique to read the source code of the index.php. What is the flag variable's value? So now let's try to see what exactly it says. Use the PHP filter technique. So let's go back to the PHP filter technique over here in TryHackMe's page. Let's look at this together. So it says the PHP filter wrapper is used in LFI to read the actual PHP page content. In typical cases, it is not possible to read the PHP file content via LFI because PHP files get executed and never show the existing code. However, we can use the PHP file to display the content of PHP files in other encoding formats such as base64 or ROT13. So let's try this first. So let's try first reading the etc password file using the. So let's try to do this. Let's see. So it says example TryHackMe file. So let's try to see if we can use we can read the PHP password file. Let's copy this. Or let's go back here. So now we're going to get rid of this. Let's paste that. Let's see if we can read the password. Okay, so it says we're able to read that. Okay, let's go back. And it says, now try to read the index.php file filter. We got errors. So let's try to read the index.php file filter. Let's try to read that. Let's see. So index.php file. Using the PHP filter, we got errors because the web server tries to execute the PHP code. So let's try this. No. So it says, okay, no. I think I did the wrong thing. I'm supposed to put file. Okay. Instead of error, I was supposed to put file. So let's copy this and paste it here. So it says this server hasn't, so nothing, we didn't get anything basically because it can't output the file unless we try to encode it. So basically we are going to convert what we want to read to base64 -encode resource. So let's try this instead. So let's go back to here and let's try this. Let me change this back to ERR first. And let me see. So I changed this back to ERR and let's see. Because this particular one is based on the example. Our entry point is not that. So that's why when we use file, we didn't get anything. So using this, you can see it gives us a very large base64. But let me just try to build a page source so that it can give us in a very, it's the same thing. Okay, so this didn't help. So right now, let's go over to CyberChef because right now it gives us this. So we have to try to decode it. Okay. Just 1 second. So let me copy this. Let me open CyberChef and let's see what it gives us. So let's send from base 64 and let's see. Okay, it still gave us this. Okay, so this is based on this particular scenario. So let's go back to our question. So now what we are trying to read now is index.php. Okay, so let's go back here. So what we're trying to read now is not the etc password, but we're trying to read index.php. And that is our index.php. But let me show you guys something. So let's assume we tried this, for example, on this same index.php. If we click, it gives us an error. See that? But when we tried using the base 64 encode, it gives us a result in base 64. So all we need to do is copy that, go over to CyberChef, because this was our test to show that it works and we're able to get all this data. So let's paste that here. So now when we in CyberChef, it decodes the base 64. So this is our flag right there. So let's copy this flag and go over here and paste our flag right here. Submit. So the answer is correct. So let's go to the next one. It says Max Kitty forgot his login credentials. Can you help him to log in in order to recover one of the service password? So it says now that you've read the index.php, there is a login credential PHP files path. Use the PHP file path, use a PHP filter technique, to read its content. So what is the username and password? So now let's go back to what we decoded in CyberChef. So this is the include here. It says creds.php. So let's copy this. With Control C, I copied that, and let's come down here and let's see if we're able to read that. So this, it gives us another base 64. So guys, I'm going to show you, I showed you, you can always decode base 64 on CyberChef, or you can do it online. You can go to Google and say base 64 decode. You're going to see a lot of websites where you can encode and decode, but I'm going to show you another way I learned from the command line. So let's take this, copy this with Control C. Okay, doesn't want to copy. Okay. Oh no, I didn't get it all. Let's copy this with Control C. No, come on. Control C. That was giving me a hard time to copy. Okay, so let's come down to our command line. I'm going to clear this just to have a fresh screen. So let's run the command. So you just say echo, and you put this, we paste our base 64. Let's go all the way back. It's supposed to be back. and we pipe this, say base 64 dash dash decode. And that's it there. It decodes it right away, but we can just put this into a file. So let's put it into creds.txt. No, .txt. Then ls. Oh, this is saved in the home directory, but okay, we can just move creds.txt to, I'm gonna move this to let me see. I'm gonna move this to cd downloads pwd. So let me just move it down here. I don't want to put it in my root directory. So come down here and move it down to, yep. So let me cd to my downloads directory. And ls, so I have my credits.txt, so I can cut that out. So this is the code. So if you go back to the TryHackMe page, they also demonstrated an example of that same thing I did. So if you look here, it says echo this to base 64. So this is basically you converting this to base 64. And you can also decode it using that same thing. So I'll recommend you practicing with this. You know, this is pretty fun, and you should have a note where you put all the things like you learning. Like I have a cheat sheet, like I have a OneNote where I save all my commands, so they come in handy when I want to use them. So basically, let's go over to the next one. So now that we have this, okay, let me go back here. So over here it says, now that you read the index.php, there is a login credential PHP files path. Use the PHP. So now we've done that. So it is in this format. So you can see the format that he put it in. So let's get the username first, which is maxkitty. Save it here, paste it here, sorry. And we put the colon and we go back and get the password. And we put that here right away. We Control V, we paste, and we press enter, and it says the answer is correct. Now let's go over to the next one. It says use the credentials to log in into the web application. Help maxkitty to recover the server's password. What is the password of the flag.thm AOC server? Okay, so now let's go over to our Kali box. We already got the credentials, so let's go back to home and let's log in using that same credentials we found. So these are the credentials. This is user. Paste this here. This is the password. Copy and we paste it using Control V and we paste. Do you want to save? No, we don't want to save it. So we click on password recovery, and this is it. Welcome maxkitty, keep this information secure. So this is his password that has been recovered, and that is our flag. So we come back here and we paste this here. So let's paste this and we click submit and boom, that's our flag. Okay, so looking at this next question, let's see. The web application logs all users requests, and only authorized users can read the log file. Use LFI to gain remote code execution via the log file page. What is the host name? RCE means remote code execution, by the way, guys. So what is the host name of the web server? The log file location is at this. Okay, so let's go back to our attack box. Now that we signed in, so let's go back to the home page. Let's check out the log access. Okay, so these are all the logs. So basically, these are all the commands we've been running from the web page. You can see all the commands we've been trying. They're being logged on the web server. So just to make this cleaner, let's reset the logs so there's nothing there. So let's go back to home and we go back to log access. All our logs are clean. Okay, so let's go back to the TryHackMe walkthrough and let's see how we can practice some of the skills that we were taught here. So if you take a look at this, it's LFI to RC via log files. So you're going to read this. It is also called a log poisoning attack. It is a technique used to gain remote code execution on the web server. The attacker needs to include a malicious payload into services log files such as Apache, SSH, etc. Then the LFI vulnerability is used to request the page that includes the malicious payload. So basically what this is doing is we're going to be sending like some commands to the web server. These commands we're going to send, we're going to be able to tell the web server to run some commands. So basically we're sending a command to the web server and we're trying to make sure we trick that web server to run some of the commands we want to run. So for example here, it says, okay, let me add one more hour to my machine. So it says we can see that the log file stores 4 different headers, including username, IP address, user agent, just like what you see right here. So the user agent, here, it's that is the Chrome right there. That's the user agent. So it says, and the visited page. The user agent is an HTTP header that includes the user's browser information to let servers identify the type of operating system. Okay, so let's open this. So what is the user agent? Request header is a characteristic string that lets servers and network peers identify application. So Mozilla system information, platform details, extensions. Okay, so let's go back to the page. You know, not here, here. Okay, so now, since the user agent is an HTTP header that includes the user browser information to let servers identify the type of operating system, vendor, and version, the user agent is one of the HTTP headers that the user can control. Therefore, in order to get the RCE, which is remote code execution, you need to include PHP code into the user agent and send a request to the log file using the LFI to execute in the browser. So now let's test if we can include user agent value into the web application log file and see if our records, if our record is recorded. So now we're going to try this. So let's go over here. So we're going to try using curl. Okay, so I think TryHackMe already included our IP here, so we could just copy this. And let's go over here. And let's send a curl command. So just take a look at these logs, guys. Let's refresh it. So you see it again. See, there's nothing in there. So let's come here. Let's clear this page. And let's send a curl command. So we paste this here. Nope. Let's paste from clipboard. Yep. So right now it says curl A. So for curl, okay, let me just, -A means, let's check. Let's just send curl --help. So the -a means user agent. Send user agent to the server. That's what it means. So now let's paste our command again. So we're telling Core to send a user agent. This is testing. So we're sending this user agent to this server. So let's run that. And this is the response. And for those of you that don't know curl, what curl is, you just Google curl tool. So like curl is a software project providing a library and command line tool. So basically it's just a command line tool that we use to connect to a web server. So that's what curl is. So let's go back to where we were. So we already sent this command, right? So now let's go back. Let's go back to our logs. So you see this is our logs. Let's refresh the page. So now you can see this is testing. We send that to the web server and the web server logged that. Okay, that's our first test. So now let's do the second test. So it says once we send the HTTP request using curl, now using a registered user, we can check the log page to see if we can add the user agent that we sent. So this is what exactly we saw. It shows that we sent that user agent using the call command and it accepted that. So now let's do this. So now this is nice. We're able to include the user agent value we wanted. Now let's inject PHP code into the user agent using the browser terminals or web proxies such as Burp Suite. In this task, we will show how to include our code into the web app log using the terminal as follows. So let's try this. So we come here. Let me clear the page. Okay. So let's paste our clipboard here. So basically we're doing the same thing. So now we're using core to send a user agent PHP info because we want to get a response back of the information of PHP from the website, and we're sending that to this. So let's see if it's going to execute that for us. So we send this and that is the response. Then when we come back to our logs, you guys see what is here. Let's refresh this. So when we refresh this and scroll down, okay, let's see. You didn't take this. Okay, wait. Okay, let me see. What's wrong with my command? Let me see if the IP address is the same, .22. Yep. Okay. Let me send this again. Check now. So we can see right here, it says login.php. Can you see? And if you notice, this is what we sent. We sent the PHP info. So look at this. It says login.php. So that shows that it accepted that user agent. So let's go back here and see. It says now using the LFI, load the log file to get the PHP code executed. Note that it is important to visit the log file via LFI. Okay, so now let's go try our remote code execution, because now that we see it accepts our user agent, now let's try this. Let's try something. Let's see if we're able to access this page. Let's see. Let's try that first. So copy this. Let's go over here. Yeah, let's just log out then. Let's go back to home. Let's go back to logout. Okay, so now let's try to see if we have access to that file. So if we check here, this is where our logs are. Can you see? So based on what we did the first time, which was when we ran the command here, the core command, to give us this PHP info. This is what it gave us. So when you come here, it says, now using the LFI, load the log file to get the PHP codex. Note that it is important to visit the log file via the LFI. So that's why we see this. Right? So now let's see if we're able to run any command. So in this kind of situation, what you do is we put the and we'll put cmd to see if we can run any command. And let's type something like who am I? And let's see if we're gonna see. Let's go all the way down to the end. Okay, so we can't see the results yet because we need to send a user agent to be able to let us run commands. Okay, so what I'm gonna do right here is, first of all, let me go back into, let me log in back as Max Kitty. Let me log in as Max Kitty. Let's get his credentials. So let me make this bigger. Let's cat creds. So let's go in here. Let's use here. Let's log in. Choose invalid password. Max Kitty. And his password is, let me copy the password well this time. Copy. Paste. I need the password is short. So let's go back to the logs access. And let's try to reset the log. So all this, like the PHP info that's there, let's try to reset it. So now that we reset the logs, let's log out. Now, let's go over here and try to see how to access the logs page again. Copy. So let's try to access the logs page using the LFI. So let's paste that here. So you can see right now, we don't have those PHP logs anymore. So it's pretty cleaner. So let's try to see if we can. We put the and cmd is equals to who am I. Let's try that. So right now it just brings out who am I. It doesn't bring out the command. Even if, let's go to page source, view page source. Right now, it doesn't give us any result. So what we can do is this. Here I learned something really new from this. So what we can do is, let's go over here. So I learned some new things using this particular. I went to this reverse shell cheat sheet. I think this is the one they call payload all things too. So I got this command saying web shell, you can use web shell HTTP user agent log poisoning. So basically, we are going to be sending this PHP's command. And when we send this PHP command, we're going to send it to our user, like back to the web server. That's where we're going to send it. So we can copy this. So let's go over here. And we need to, let's just paste it here first. So we need to make it cleaner. So curl.s-s-h user agent, and we put the system, we put the backslash to escape this and we put underscore get command. So this is we sending a command into our web server so that way we can be able to run commands. So after that, let me just check my notes here. So we put this and we put a space, put this, put a question mark, this arrow, and we close this. Then we put a space and we go over, we put another colon, we go over to TryHackMe. Let's copy this. So we put this. To this, copy. We paste this, place a clipboard. Okay. So after that, we put this and we close this. So when we do that, let's try to run this and see if it's going to work. So we sent that. Now when we go back here, so let's go back here. Let's see what we got. So it gave us this error. So the error says cannot execute a blank command in. So basically, we know that our execution worked. So I would recommend you going to do more research on this. This was something new I learned. You sending this user agent with all this, you send it into the web server. I'm gonna add this. I'm gonna add this link to my to the information section so you can have that. And this is payload all things to reverse shell. So like these are very good website or tools you should like keep in the bank, you know, because when you're gonna need them, there's a whole lot of information here that you're gonna need. So not to waste too much of our time, let's go over. So let's go back to what we did the first time. Let's put the and we put cmd and we run the command who am I. So let's go over to view page source. And we see the response from the server says we're www-data. This wasn't there before. So now let's go back here. So we want to see the host name, right? So we just type host name because now we can run commands. So we go back, we just go to view page source so that we can see it better. And that is our host name right there. We'll copy this, come over here, back here. So it's expiring soon. No, I still have an hour. And we paste this here. And we submit. And that's whoop, your answer is correct. So now let's try to get a remote code execution. This one was really fun, you know, getting a remote code execution on the machine. So this is the bonus side of it. So now that we are able to run commands, so let's try to get a remote code execution. So in this kind of situation, we want to get a reverse shell. So my machine is expired. No. Let me see. Yep, I still have 1 hour, so it's not expired. Okay, so now we want to try to get a reverse shell. Let's go back. Now that we're done with all the answers, this is the current PHP configuration stores the PHP sessions files in -temp. So this is use the LFI. So over here, they showed us a way you can use to get a remote code execution, which is a reverse shell, but I'm not going to use that way. There's this another way I learned. So let me try to use that. So we can go to payload all things. Oh, was he here? Let me see. So payload all things. Yeah, so I need to use, so first of all, now that we can run commands, let's go back to our web server and let's type something like pwd. If we come here, let's run that here. pwd present working directory, it sends that. Let's view page source. And look at this, is we're in var www.html. So now we want to try to interrogate this web server so that we can run a remote code execution. So not to waste too much of your time, we could just type which Python, just to want to find out if Python is running in this web server. So let's go to view page source. And it says user bin Python. So Python is there. So we can use Python to get a reverse shell. So let's try that right now. So now that we're here right now, let's go back to payload all payload all things. And I tried you could try multiple, but I tried this one. This one didn't work for me. So not to waste too much of your time, this is the one I tried that worked for me. So I'm going to copy that and go back to my Kali box. So over here, I'm going to clear this page. So I'm going to start a netcat listener. Netcat, that's LVMP. So let me use the port 8888 and click enter. So now we're listening on this port. So let's try to clean our command. So let me go over to downloads. Let me open downloads and I could just do that in the command line here. So I could just go to new tab, sudo su, and put password, make this bigger, and I put nano payload.txt. I just want to make this cleaner, so let me just paste this here. So now you're going to change the port here to port 8888, and we're going to also change this to our IP. So let's check out the IP for our Kali. So this IP, it's going to be your IP for your VPN. So if config, make this big. So this is the IP we're going to use here, right here. So copy that, come back here, and we paste that here. So that's what we need to change. And Control X, and we tell it's asks if we want to save. We say yes. So we can cat CLS. So we can cat payload.txt. So this is our payload that we just edited. So let's copy it. And we go back here and we paste that here. So now we just want to double check to make sure our payload is fine. Yep. So the next thing we're going to do is we press enter. Once you see your page hanging, then that's good news. So you come over here where we're running our netcat and see we have a reverse shell. So ls, we're already in the system. So now we got a reverse shell into the system. So we can always say host name and that's our host name right there. I'm gonna do pwd, and we're in www data. So that is what I had for you guys today. Thank you for joining me today. We're done with day 6. So we're going to be going to day 7, which is migration without security. So right now they're in day 9, so we're catching up. So the bonus one, you can as well try the remote code execution from TryHackMe. So you can try this method. This method too was pretty fun using the cookies. So you guys can try it out on your own. But thank you very much for joining me today. Please subscribe. I have more content coming, and I'm going to try my best to break it down to the barest minimum, how like a beginner in cybersecurity can understand better. So thank you for joining me. That's what I have for you today. I'm going to be able to try to join me regularly. I'm going to be able to give you the breakdown of some of these techniques and tactics to the barest minimum, where someone who is a beginner in cybersecurity can have the knowledge he needs to start up his career. So please subscribe, join me, and thank you very much.